Hi, everybody. This is Rafael Gross for the Fine Art of Fine Art series and selling art and photography post COVID-19. It's the first time I'm presenting this since we're post COVID-19 here in Israel. It's kind of interesting. But I am sharing my screen right now. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if they can see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. Thank you so much. So the program is really geared towards what's available to artists, photographers, and any type of visual media artists that's out there. After 40 years in the art world and art business and selling and picture framing and understanding what markets there are out there, we've created this program, and I've reached out to a lot of amazing friends to give some guidance because we're in a new world and we have to change the way we've done things. Things aren't going to operate the same traditionally. And you'll see during the presentation how some of it has changed and the direction that we hope we can help artists and photographers and visual media artists make it happen. So we start with a quote from Picasso. And he said to learn rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. And it's so true. You know, I loved Picasso till he was 21 years old. One of my favorite artists till the age of 21, when he was the greatest portrait artist in Europe. Kings, queens, presidents, the aristocracy of Europe, they all wanted their portraits done by Picasso. And then he decided to go through his periods. And what's amazing is when you see an early Picasso, you go, wow, he sure did break the rules. So, you know, artists are notorious for breaking rules. And that's the beauty, is that I have yet to find an artist that just sits in the box. And so I have traditionally broken down art sales and art markets to a number of different available opportunities. Destination art sales are when people go to a destination, they're on vacation, they're on holiday, they're traveling, and they arrive at a port or they arrive at a, you know, great city, and they go into a gallery and they feel good and they choose a piece of art because that's something they want to remember. They want to remember that place based upon the destination they were at. And we find that that's actually the majority of art sales. Art sales are driven by destination. People want to remember where they are. So if they're in Paris, they're going to go to Montmartre and they're going to see a great street artist. If they're in Florence, they're going to go to the Leather District and find a great street artist. If they're in New York City, they're going to go into a great museum and they're going to buy a poster. They're going to buy a print. They're going to go into a gallery, and so on and so forth. If they're in Hawaii, on the beach, Hawaii has more galleries per capita than most cities in the world. It's amazing. And then there's legacy art sales. Legacy art sales come from the legacy of a great artist. You can go as great as Van Gogh. Van Gogh was a legacy artist. 99% of his sales were driven after he was long gone, and that's a legacy. So today, we're actually creating a brain trust of legacy artists, and I've curated a global team, invited about a half a dozen great art people who are have been artists, have been dealers, gallery owners, and whatnot. And right now we're sitting on a number of collections. Some of them have 400, 500 paintings. And we're really excited to figure out what we're going to do with these legacy collections. So legacy art sales are sales that happen after a great artist has gone. Liquidation art sales. This is where auction houses come in. An estate is being auctioned, an estate, you know, a legacy estate. I remember 30 years ago, I was in London and I was asked by one of the lords. I was at a breakfast and he was at the table next to me and he overheard that I was doing some art stuff and he goes, maybe you want to come up to my castle and see if there's any art there you want to, liquidate, and like these are things that just happened over time, but liquidation art sales is where the great deals are found. I can tell a story of my mom. My mom used to go to the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl has one of the oldest flea markets, antiques and whatnot. And she used to go visit a cuckoo clock vendor. And she knew that my mother was in the art world, and comes up to her one day and he says, Mimi, I found a piece that I really love, but I like buying my art from you. Will you come look at it with me? And it was like $50 or $60. I don't even remember. This was like 1978, 79. And the cuckoo clock guy bought this painting for $60. And my mother looked at him and she said, pack up all your cuckoo clocks, drive over to the Norton Simon Museum. And it was an original Diego Rivera. And that piece currently hangs at the Norton Simon Museum in Pasadena. So that's what happened at liquidation. I don't know, probably worth a few. I mean, he worked out something where he donated it, got a tax write-off, and then he got credit on the piece hanging in the museum. Usually those types of pieces, just the insurance on them you can't afford. So museums are set up for that. It's great. Obviously, like any industry, artists are no different, and supply and demand. I can tell the story of meeting an artist in Jerusalem, walked into his studio, and he's a renowned artist, recognized globally in a number of museums. And I walked in and he had over 1,000 paintings in his studio. And I looked at him, the first thing I said to him is, do not tell anybody you have 1,000 paintings. Because the minute you tell a market that you have 1,000 paintings, everything becomes a free-for-all. It becomes very negotiable. So as art gets presented in the marketplace, as it gets released to the marketplace, we can actually control. That's why many times you'll see sites that I build will only have 4 or 5 pieces by an artist. Because if you put up 50 pieces by an artist, first of all, it's overwhelming to a consumer. And second of all, it's not focused. People want to see what's available. What can I get next? What's coming down the pipeline? That's why galleries generally have releases and whatnot. One of the major factors that artists struggle with is their own branding and their own positioning. Artists don't know where they sit. They don't know if they sit as a fine artist, as a commercial artist, as a reproductive artist, as a portrait painter, as a sketch artist. Art is so broad. I mean, we could keep going. I could keep, labeling and titling, but the reality is how an artist is branded and how an artist is positioned. And positioning is based upon where they show, who they show with, where their work is being presented is a big part of their brand identity, who they're with. And that leads right into the networking being who they're associating with, who the artist hangs out with, so to speak. You think of the artists of Paris in the turn of the century. You think of the New York School in the 1950s. All these artists, they cultivated together, and they worked off of each other, and they helped each other, and they created markets just through their own network. And we have the great art collectors and gallery owners who came in and recognized this, and marketed this. And today we're sitting with a number of online platforms. We have Etsy, we have Art in America, we have art.com, and all of these are very diluted. They're very diluted places. There's no focus. There's no specifics. Anyone can post there. There's no curation. And these are really important words when it comes to an artist that has been producing a breadth of work and an artist that wants to be represented in the right light. So the online platforms that are out there are great as portfolios. They're great places to view work. But how are we going to drive sales? How are we actually going to make those sales happen online? Online sales are the lowest out of all the online products that are out there. People go online to buy consumables. They go online to buy shoes. Zappos is doing great. Anything on Amazon, but you're not going to find art on Amazon. You can find some art on eBay, but again, it's usually the liquidation that you're finding there, not the curated, not the pedigreed in that respect. So we come to a quote from Andy Warhol that people should fall in love with their eyes closed. You know, one of the great tools that Martin Isaacson was a curator in Los Angeles, a dear friend, and he was a professor at UCLA, but he also taught a class, that one of my favorite classes. He taught it at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, LACMA. He taught it on Sunday mornings. It was a free walking class, and it was called The Fine Art of Fine Art. What makes fine art fine art? Why do some pieces end up in museums? Why do some pieces not? And one of the things he has people do is he has them walk into a room with their eyes closed, open their eyes in front of a piece, and then has them close their eyes and talk about the piece. So it's the impression, it's that, you know, that first 5-second impression, 10-second impression, and he talks you through it with your eyes closed. So when Andy Warhol says people should fall in love with their eyes closed, because it's about the words, it's about how to be a wordsmith with art, how to really defines art. What defines art is really the level of art is determined by the language that's used around the art. Yeah, so it kind of drives the opportunities, you know, that are there and that make it happen. So, you know, I've sold art from dollar pieces of David Lee seagulls to $50,000, $100,000 originals. And it's the same sale. It's the same talking. It's the same language, whether you're selling a dollar piece of print or whether you're selling $100,000 original painting. And it's really a matter of just closing your eyes and falling in love. So this is an estimation, but pretty good. Over 70% of art is acquired on holiday. Cruise ships, ports, islands, and great cities. Most people will travel. They arrive at a place with their loved one, with their fiance, on a honeymoon, and they look at a piece of art. It doesn't have to be a great piece of art. And they look at each other and they're not even thinking about the painting. What they're saying, what's going on in their mind is, if we take this home with us, every time we look at it, we're going to remember this moment. And it brings them back to that place. It brings them back to that moment where they were taken away on a holiday, on a journey away from their life. So 70% of art is bought on it. And how do we create that? How do we recreate that? We recreate that through storytelling. One of the key factors to selling art is always storytelling. So what we're doing currently is we're telling stories. We're telling stories about the artist. We're telling stories about where the piece originated. We're telling stories about the combination of circumstance, the people that are involved, the nuance. And what we're doing is we're building this with amazing stories from amazing artists. We're doing it through video, and we're building a community. We're building 3 communities simultaneously, so that we'll have all 3 different types of levels of art. We'll have art for decorative art, we'll have art for collectors, and we'll have art for fine art that's going to end up in museums. So the opportunity that we're creating here is about storytelling through video and by building a community. The community of curated, value-driven, authentic, very real artists that bring a lot to the table. And we're inviting both young artists and seasoned artists, artists that have had one-person shows, artists that have never exhibited before. But the value that's important to us is, how much is an artist willing to put into their own story? How much time, how much effort, how much, let's call it coaching, are they willing to listen to refine their story, to make their story more open, more accessible, so that people feel like they're a part of the story and that they're part of the community? Because that's what people want ultimately. They want to be they want to engage with the artist. They want to be a part. They want to go in the studio with the artist, and that's why we've done that. So in the past 2 months since the quarantine, we started interviewing and we started presenting. We tested, and we're doing some online auctions, and we're creating some amazing web portals that are going to drive both photography and fine art, and we're currently merged together. They're going to start splitting off a little bit, and basically what we have now is this array of very focused, curated opportunities. So in the center we have Gati, which is the Galil Art Tech Innovation, and that was driven to become a incubator for art and technology. And I've worked with some of the best in both, and I've been doing that now for almost 2 years. And it's exciting, but that was driven by a festival. Well, in the age of COVID, the festival is going to go virtual. So what did I do? I created, on the bottom left, Art for a Cause. Art for a Cause is, I invited 7 artists, 5 came on board. We tested it, we played with it, we exercised it, we launched it, and we all learned a lot. We learned how to work together, how to integrate together. We learned what worked. We learned what didn't work. We learned what gave us more reach, and we learned what was higher value, but not as higher reach. So each of these things, we learned what takes a lot of time and what could be done. Through this, we created the Iconic Image Maker. The Iconic Image Maker, think of it as an Etsy store, only instead of being focused on any type of craft or anything, all we're dealing with are visual arts. We're only dealing with paintings and photographs. So that if anyone's looking for an image created, made by an artist, or an image made by a photographer, the Iconic Image Maker portal will be that link that we can market together, that the artist can market. Go to Iconic Image Maker, find an artist you like there. Go to, instead of saying go to my website, go become a member of the IIM, because people want to be a member of something. So right now there are 9 artists who have Iconic Image Maker sites, and it's resting on the 4th apple.com. And it's in beta still, so we're still testing it out. Some of the sites are still being built. I think 3 of them or 4 of them will be live by the end of this week. So we have a lot of work to do, and we're very excited. Art by a Cause is connected to it because any artist that has an Iconic Image Maker site automatically is a part of Art for a Cause, and their work can be part of the auctions, part of the drive, and the cause changes. Right, the first cause was everything from the heart, Hakol Me'alev, helping children in hospitals during COVID, during amazing program, and we did an amazing outreach for them, spreading the word about the work that they're doing and how they're doing it. And I know they'll benefit from it in the long term. It's just tremendous, the effort that the artists put in for it. And currently, we're the cause is the Maasai Women's Center. I was just actually right before this chatting with the chief. He wants it to be the Maasai Girls Center. He wants it to be younger. And I said, well, we've branded it, but maybe we'll talk to the people and get a consensus and see what sounds better or what's going to work better. He's concerned that, that will make it happen. But to give you an idea, right now I think there are 6 artists on the Art for a Cause site, and there'll be 8 or 9 by the end of the week. So we've got a lot of work to do. A lot of artists have come on board, and we're really excited. And the last piece, which isn't even up here yet, it's still being baked a little bit, but that is called Art Legacy. Art Legacy are these collections. I have invited 7 art connoisseurs, artists, art curators, gallery owners to be part of a brain trust, and we're going to develop, what do we do with an artist that has left us 500 paintings sitting in a warehouse, and the family doesn't know what to do with it. Families run out of money. 300 sculptures in someone's garage. It's unbelievable. And these are artists that are exhibited in over 100 places, world recognized. An artist that died 10 years ago lived in Paris for 20 years. And, it's just, and now, of course, now that I've been talking to, people with tremendous reputations, they're like, oh yeah, I know 2 more artists, that they left all the work to their girls, and, their girls just have them in their garage, and he's like, we should go knock on their door. It's like, what do you mean this artist? This artist is probably, he actually calls this, I put it up on the invitation, Victor Asaf. Victor Asaf is his name. He was a Russian artist that came to Israel early. And let me just mute whoever just came in. Someone's coming in. Mute. There we go. Did that mute? Yeah, there we go. The whole program is really coming together. All 3 phases, from the iconic image maker to Art for a Cause to the art legacy. And of course, artists that wanted to do shows and that's what I love to do. But I think we're in a changed time. We're in a changed time, and we need to adjust accordingly. And I think the dialogue between the artist and the collector will be a direct dialogue. I can share a great story. So one of the artists, I'm sure she'll be okay with it, one of the artists on Art for a Cause is an artist named Shira Chai. She's from Kibbutz Ein Dor. And Shira Chai has been doing Facebook Lives. She's actually become like a rock star. She loves it. The first time she did it, I think I counted almost 100 ums. And now she's down to I think 5 to 10 ums. So we're really working together and understanding. But the first, she gets, anyway, she's at up to 50, 60 people, share it and comment, and, friends from her past and old students. And, but the greatest part to me was this woman she'd never met before reaches out to her and said, I saw your Facebook Live and you really intrigued me, and I'd love to come visit your studio. What greater impact than a direct studio visit from someone who collects art, someone who's been involved in the art world, someone that, is coming to the studio with a checkbook, ready to hang something in their home, and I'm sure it'll lead to a friendship, and I'm sure it'll lead to, but that's what the beauty of art. It's not about just the sale. It's about the friendship and the camaraderie, and, they're going to dig through whatever's there, and, she's going to say, oh, Raphael makes prints of these. If you don't want to spend this, we can do limited editions, because we've been talking, and this language has become comfortable with artists, in terms of being able to present. So I want to thank Shira Chai for sharing that story with me earlier this week. And I'm really excited about what Gatti, the iconic image maker, Art for a Cause, and ultimately art legacy. So if anyone knows any artist that wants to be a part of any of those programs, please have them reach out. They can reach out to us through Facebook, through Instagram, through WhatsApp. Email works too. And we're really excited. So I want to thank everybody for joining me for this introduction. The next part in this series that we're launching, which I'm going to launch tomorrow, is next week at the same time. We're going to do a 3-part series, and it's going to go in detail how to price, how to develop your own brand, how to develop what you need and everything. And it's going to be really, really affordable. And if you take all 3 of them, you basically get the 3rd one for free. So it's really fundamental and basic, but it gives you'll walk away not just with the opportunity to implement, but you'll walk away with real formulas and real structure and real language. You'll have the language to use so that when you go out to market yourself, you're not marketing yourself as just another artist. You're marketing yourself as a unique market. What differentiates your work from everyone else's? And that's really important. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And the Art for a Cause is live. It's at app.galabid.com/COZ. I'll put a link to that when this is published. And thanks everybody for coming today. It was wonderful.